Terminator armor, officially designated tactical dreadnought armor, is an advanced form of powered combat armor developed for close-quarters melee and ranged fighting done by Space Marine Terminators, for whom slaying power is more important than maneuverability. These suits are primarily utilized in situations where standard Space Marine power armor does not provide enough protection for a warrior, when battle calls for durability and protection over agility. It is to revered suits of Terminator armor that the Space Marines turn. Massively thick armor plates and powerful servo muscles drive these defensive shells, and only the best and bravest of a Space Marine chapter may don this ancient and sacred battle harness. Terminator armor is an incredibly durable suit comprising an outer shell of heavy-gauge ceramite plasteel composite plates, mounted on an adamantium exoskeleton with servo-assisted interfaces that integrate with an Astarte's own neurological and muscular systems to enhance movement. Its advanced composition allows the wearer to survive hits from firepower that could penetrate even the armor of a tank, and it is the heaviest combat armor in any Imperial arsenal, able to withstand tremendous punishment. Offensively, it provides the strength to maintain mobility while serving as a solid heavy weapons platform in open field combat. The elite first company of most Space Marine chapters uses Terminator armor extensively, and only those Astartes who earn the Crux Terminatus, a special badge of honor said to contain a fragment of the power armor worn by the Emperor of Mankind when he defeated Horus at the end of the Siege of Terra, are permitted to wear it. It is said that the Crux Terminatus behaves as a ward that augments the Terminator armor itself, capable of turning aside blows that would threaten even a war engine. In the era Indomitus of the 41st millennium, both Firstborn and Primaris Marines can serve as Terminators. Not even Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Call was able to improve upon the ancient and sacred Indomitus patterned Terminator armor. Any veteran Marine can earn the right to don a suit of tactical dreadnought armor, so veterans of the Tyrannic Wars and the Indomitus Crusade alike are clad in these suits of revered ceramite. Less frequently, high-ranking members of the Inquisition have been known to wear a form of Terminator armor sized for an ordinary human occupant. Notably, members of the Ordo Maleus in particular have been known to favor suits of Terminator armor. However, lacking the genetically engineered subdermal Space Marine organ, known as the black carapace, Inquisitors are unable to neurologically interface with the armor, and generally find its bulk much more cumbersome than a Space Marine does. Amongst the traitor legions that still reside within the hellish realm known as the Eye of Terror, only aspiring Chaos Champions or Chaos Lords who stand in great favor to the ruinous powers wear Terminator armor. So scarce is Terminator armor among the heretic Astartes that sometimes an aspiring champion can only claim a suit for himself by killing the current wearer, whether in ritual combat or by more devious means. Chaos. Terminators will often act as the personal guard of such an esteemed champion. Within a war band of Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Terminators enforce the will of their leader and always claim the most valuable spoils of any victory. Space Marine power armor has a long and glorious history, having its origins in the long-forgotten time before the Emperor's unification of mankind on Terra during the Unification Wars fought by his legions of gen-enhanced pseudo-Astartes known as the Thunder Warriors. Nothing is known of this time, but it is speculated that the first suits of human-developed powered armor were worn by the techno-barbarians that fought alongside the Emperor as he battled to bring Terra under his rule during the Unification Wars of the 30th millennium. Over time, these suits were refined and improved, becoming the earliest incarnations of fully enclosed power armor. The first suits of Space Marine power armor were developed from this armor during the late 30th millennium, and was said to have been worn by the first Space Marines of the Legionis Astartes as they launched the Great Crusade to reunite the worlds of the Sol system under the Emperor's control. Legends tell that once the Terran solar system was secure and the process of rebuilding firmly in hand, galactic conquest began in earnest. Faded techno-arcana of the Adeptus Mechanicus tell that even before the Age of Strife had ended, the Emperor had started to make provisions for his Great Crusade. Part of these plans included the re-equipping of the Space Marine legions with a far more sophisticated fighting suit that Imperial historians have dubbed Mark II Crusader or Crusader armor. Alongside these developments, the Emperor initiated a program to develop a system of armor that would provide even greater protection than that offered by power armor for Space Marine legionaries on the field of battle. The technology for exo-armor was originally developed during mankind's age of technology. These sealed environment suits enabled maintenance crews of spacecraft to operate in extremely hazardous environments, such as hard vacuum or in other adverse atmospheric conditions. Exo-armor was constructed from heavy-gauge plasteel plating forming an armored shell that could withstand even the colossal impact of high-speed orbital microdebris. It is the only armor suitable for working inside the high-pressure casings of plasma reactor shields or the extremely corrosive environments inside the holds of bulk chemical carriers. These same qualities, suitably enhanced, were used to make tactical dreadnought armor virtually invulnerable to most weapons. The development of Terminator armor, as tactical dreadnought armor soon became known, was well underway during the Great Crusade to replace power armor, but was relegated to its current role due to a lack of maneuverability. During the Great Crusade era, the ancient Mechanicum was receiving a steady influx of new and rediscovered technologies from each planet brought to Imperial compliance, and in an effort to stem the horrendous loss of Astartes' lives resulting from the ferocious conquests, attempted to design the ultimate pattern of power armor, which would render a Space Marine virtually invulnerable. The design emerged from a hybrid of standard Astartes power armor, the cybernetic shell of a dreadnought, and the armored, hostile environment suits long worn by Terran engineers who worked in difficult conditions like debris-plagued orbital space and the radioactive engine cores of interstellar spacecraft. Tactical dreadnought armor, as it was called, would turn the Astartes warrior within it into a living tank. The eventual result of the Mechanicum's travails was only a partial success. The first suits of Terminator armor did, as intended, afford a level of protection previously unattainable for its wearer. Like power armor, these suits were equipped with fiber-bundle synthetic muscles and imposed few movement restrictions upon the wearer despite their immense weight. But they were also too bulky, and their massive weight made running difficult despite built-in auto-balancers. The suits suffered from voracious power demands, and few existing armaments could be carried as the armor's sheer bulk made handling and reloading impossible. But most importantly, the sheer amounts of raw materials and manpower required to craft Terminator armor was so great that retrofitting the whole of the existing Space Marine legions with it was simply not feasible for the already thinly stretched logistics of the nascent Imperium of man. Several patterns of Terminator armor evolved in parallel from the forge worlds of the Mechanicum and the armories of the Space Marine legions. And the Mechanicum refined their concept and developed weapons specially adapted for it, like combi weapons and the Reaper autocannon. Terminator armor was then presented in limited numbers to the crusading legions, who quickly found a use for it. Massively armored, sealed against any hostile environmental conditions, and incorporating their own heavy-ranged or close combat armament, Terminator armor designs soon proved their worth. Terminator armor, with its ability to maximize the firepower and protection for a Space Marine, became standard on missions in extremely confined spaces, like the corridors of a hive city, or during a boarding action on a space hulk where dreadnoughts and armored vehicles could not operate because they were too large to fit. Anecdotal evidence of this adaptability and willingness to embrace new weapons of warfare can be found in Horus's vocal backing of the tactical dreadnought armor project, with the result being that his Lunar Wolves Legion was one of the first and most widely equipped with Terminator armor, and at the forefront of the development of tactics for its use in assaults. By the time the Horus heresy erupted and the arch-traitor Horus first struck a blow against the Emperor during the Istvan III atrocity, these heavily armored suits had become widely available to the Space Marine legions. In the 41st millennium, it is a rare thing to see a new suit of Terminator armor. If an additional suit is required, it is usually cobbled together from refurbished parts salvaged from the remains of Terminators killed in action.